Hey ladies and gentlemen, I'm PGA Professional Clay Winnell here with golf professional golf instructor Jay Brumagen.
How's it going?
Triple G. I was hitting balls one day and Jay's got a finely tuned eye for the golf swing, and he said my golf instruction philosophy is ball forward, and I've never heard anybody say that before, so we got a few minutes today to talk about what ball forward golf means for you and simplifying your understanding of hitting the ball better.
Absolutely. So if I can keep you going in the direction of your target and keep you from going either hard left or hard right, the more fun you're going to have. So the whole theory behind ball forward is anybody can get back to the ball. How do we control the ball flight? So if you're hitting it a hard low left, that's going to be more of an inside out club path with a closed face. So that's going to be low left. If you're having some struggles with high right, we're going to be more outside in with an open club face. So how do we alleviate that? Is not really in the backswing, it's more in our mindset. What I'd like for you to do is take your normal swing, which I think you're struggling with a little bit of low left. Right, so here we've got a very deep divot. The deeper our divot, the more backspin we're going to put on the ball, which now affects distance. So club face should always start just a little bit open, because this is a straight line to the hosel. From the hosel, we have what's called offset. So some of you may have super game improvement clubs, which have more offset. So what we're trying to do is line up basically the shaft with the toe, and that would actually be closed. So what we want to do is we want to lay it a little bit open. Now what would be considered open from your perspective looking down the shaft is actually square. So let's take this shot with just like a terminology of a little bit open club face. Excellent. So if you're struggling with low left, by coming in from the inside out, we'll use this other alignment rod to kind of demonstrate that. This would be our direction towards our target. If we're coming inside out with a closed club face, that's going to produce a low left shot. And so where most club players look at the club, that would be considered square to them, but that's actually closed because this shaft is not lined up with the toe. The toe is actually ahead of the shaft. And we'll give you a little demonstration of that.
You want a low lefter?
Yeah. And that's exactly what happens. So the body stopped rotating because the arms had to catch up. Let's do that again. Now let's correct that with what would be ideally the correct set of the club.
What's the best way for them to see at home that they're aiming up squarely?
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll take a look at this, and you can see that this shaft to my hand is a straight line. You agree?
I agree.
Okay. Now we have this hosel, we have actually the heel and the toe, which is a little bit offset from this straight line. So the best way to line that up would be take the shaft, line it up with the toe, which that's actually square, when most people think that that is square. So you see kind of a difference between this straight line of the shaft and the toe?
I do. I've never heard it described that way. I like that.
So we're talking 1, maybe 2 degrees difference is the difference between a high right shot or a low left shot. So we want to take this straight line, line it up with the toe, and now you can see that we are in line. If we go back to what would be considered most players square, we can actually see that the toe is a little bit in front of the shaft.
So ball forward, the theory at its core is you look and see where the ball's going, and then you try to adjust your setup to achieve a different result so they don't have to worry about the swing?
Absolutely. So what we're trying to do is alleviate all the variables in the mind. Is my posture correct? Am my ball position correct? Are my hands correct? Is my left arm connected to the shaft? All these things that go through somebody's mind when they stand over the ball. So ideally, we want to create a box. And so our box would be, this line is your imaginary line on the golf course. So back here, we do our assessment. How far, wind direction, hazards such as bunkers, or if there's a water hazard, whatever it may be. Do your assessment. Once you step over this line, be committed and just take 15 seconds and do the swing. And that's pretty much, according to USGA, the amount of time that you have once you approach your ball.
So if we get someone that's a slicer, they're
Yeah.
putting it into one fairway, they can't get this dang thing to go straight. What does ball forward golf mean for them?
Great question. So if this is our target line, most club players line up with their feet, if I'm going this direction, in line directly. We play this game sideways. So if we're going this way, the way Coach Clay's going, instead of parallel to that line with our feet, or we would take and we would open up our stance about 10 degrees, anywhere from 5 to 10 degrees. Now what we've done is we've produced the body line that is left of our target, our hip line left of our target, our foot stance a little bit left of our target. This allows him, as he goes through and stays committed to the shot, to follow his target line. So if you're going hard right, but it's a solid shot, a lot of times it might not be the club face, but I would say a good majority of the time it's usually the setup of where the club is when it's grounded. So here we opened up his stance a little bit, which now has him aiming a little bit left, but as this ball exits, you'll see that it'll be on line. And so that's how we fix anything that's ball forward. So we open up our stance a little bit to our target line, and then we stay committed to the shot. Also, we're not dealing, and the whole theory here is we're not dealing with mechanics. We're dealing with how the club interacts with the turf and how the club interacts with the ball. And that's how we work ball forward. So we're not talking about getting to a particular position of here and then weight shift. If you can get back to the ball and I can keep you moving forward and keep you in play, the more fun you're gonna have.
One of the coolest drills that you showed me this winter was hinge 90, roll 90, turn tilt.
Sure.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, we'll tell you a little bit. Go ahead and take your stance.
What is this drill for,
So,
by the way?
What this does is it tells you that a good analogy is a car would have a tachometer, and that's the meter that tells you I'm about to redline. So once I redline, I've gone past a particular point, essentially. In the golf swing, if we've gone past a particular point, we're going to pass that point coming back through. So why not stop at a particular point and then transition into our downswing? So this drill, it would be, take your normal stance. We're always going to hinge at the thumbs. So even if we take it back, we've hinged at the thumbs. We'll never hinge at the wrist. And so if you're getting a lot of topped balls, that's when something breaks one way, it has to break back the other way. So now the club is starting to ascend as it gets into the ball. So just like we have a left foot and a right foot, a left arm and a right arm, equal and opposite. Whatever happens on this side has to happen on this side. And that's the way the swing basically incorporates into one full swing. So this little drill will help you figure out if you're redlining or not. What we're going to do is we're going to hinge at the thumb. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3. We're going to hinge 90. we're gonna lay at 90. As we lay at 90, you can see that this right elbow gets closer to the sternum. That's a perfect position. A good checkpoint at this point would be, is the shaft in line with the shoulder blades or in line with the clavicle? Good. So from here, so that's 1, 2, 3, we just raise it up. We come back down. We're still in line with clavicle. Right elbow is now allowed to pass through the body. So if we have a student, go ahead and show us how your student would pull the club back with the right arm. So now the right arm is on behind the body, number one. When we transition to our downswing, that right arm stays on the body. It does not allow it to pass through the body. So a good drill, if you're having trouble with the club getting stuck behind you, like that, would be 1, 2, 3, hinge 90, lay at 90, checkpoint is in line with our clavicle, and then raise the club up, turn tilt. And so that would be the ideal position if you're struggling with getting the right arm stuck behind you. Essentially, we want our right arm to pass through the body and end up straight there. The only time the club is straight would be on your setup. Next position is straight is out here. My right arm has created space between my body and my right elbow. And so let's do that drill a couple times. Hinge, don't hit the ball, hinge, lay it, turn tilt. Great position, left arm stays in line and creates this 7. So if we can keep this 7, which would be the clavicle and this left arm, we're in a great position to just transition through. So let's do it 2 more times. Hinge 90, lay at 90, turn tilt. Good. One more time. Hinge 90, lay at 90, turn tilt. And so what we'll do is we'll incorporate this into our swing now. So he's going to take a swing. We'll call it out. Hinge 90, lay at 90, turn tilt, go. And so here we're not overcompensating for starting from a very static position and saying, I've got to get to here. More like the waiter if you're right-handed, right? So this incorporates and takes away all those swing thoughts before the swing, before the club even moves. So we'll give you a little more demonstration about that again. He's in his posture. And so if you're practicing this at home, we don't want to stand up and do this because that's not our golf posture. If you tried to do this, what'll happen is you'll just basically swing over the ball. So we want to get into our golf position. We want to hinge 90, lay at 90, turn tilt. And then so we're going to just incorporate that into your drill session. Everybody that's taking a little look at this at home, and just go.
So what does laying at 90 do? I understand getting there, but what does that do?
What that does is it allows the right elbow to get closer to the sternum. So from here, when you raise the club, we're in a great position. So we've got our 7 created by the left arm. We've got our waiter position created by the right hand. And so if you're right-handed, a lot of people get too steep because that's your dominant hand. From here, the club just gets slammed to the ground. What I'd like is basically what we call float. So this would be float, and then basically from here we just turn back through the club.
So if I were to just go hinge 90 to the top,
now you're in a position where your dominant hand is taking over, and that allows you just to slam it down. So we have this thing called gravity. We want gravity to work with us. So if we're floating in our right hand, excellent. Now as he transitions, hips first, there you go. Right elbow is now not stuck behind the body. And so that allows him to take it and release it. Hinge 90, lay at 90, turn tilt, go. Excellent.
And
also,
another nuance that you told me was all of this is happening within, like, imagine your hands are inside a basketball or something. When you hinge and then roll, it's not like you're hinge and then roll. You want it all to be happening in here, and why is that?
So we have this thing that we're trying to create called space. So take your stance, take your posture, hinge 90. So whatever, go back to the dress, sorry. Whatever this distance is between the butt of the club and its belly button is what it is. We want to keep that space the same. So if we just hinge 90, that distance is still the same distance. If we lay at 90, that distance is the same distance. If we raise it to the top, now this distance is still the same. So we're trying to create space in the golf swing. What that eliminates is that stand up and jump back. So why is that important? Well, here's the reason. If I take my stance and I squat even further, I didn't do anything with the length of my arm, but the club head went farther from the ball. If we stand up, now the club head comes closer to the body inside the ball. So as we keep this space the same and we turn tilt, all we got to do is go. So it's easier, I would say it's easier to make a free throw than it is to make a jump stop. You agree?
I don't really know, but I'll go.
So
with it.
if we're at a free throw, we take a couple dribbles, we've got the ball, and we just go. If I'm on the run and I try to stop, all that motion,
Yes.
all that movement has to come to a position that puts me in the right position to take the correct shot. So here, once we get to the top, all we got to do is just go.
I think of it as like a mouse trap that's been stretched back and just ready to snap.
Yeah, so in the old days, in the 1800s, 1600s, when they were trying to knock down castles, they had a thing called trebuchet. So all we're doing is creating levers. So this left arm is a lever. That's our first lever. This cock of the wrist is our next lever. And all we want to do is deliver that back with maximum energy.
Okay, so we're hinging at the thumbs, not at the wrist.
You're correct. Hinge at the base of the thumbs, which allows us to set this. Some may have a little bit more flexion here, which might be this. But he never got out of his golf posture. So it may even be this. And then from here, we want this right elbow to get closer to the sternum. So all we do is just lay at 90. That's a great position. And so what Clay was telling me one day was, when the toe is up, I feel like I'm getting through the ball so much better. The whole dynamics of this club is that this head obviously weighs more than the butt of the club. If we can get this in the right position, all we got to do is work with gravity. Gravity will take it down.
How would you describe so the folks are laying at 90 correctly?
Sure.
I think we're going to get there easily,
Yep.
but getting to there might be a little harder. What are the cues for that?
The cues for that is exactly checkpoints. One, you can have an alignment rod on the ground as a checkpoint. The other is you can have your clavicle as a checkpoint if the shaft is in the right position. We don't want the shaft to be here. We don't want the shaft to be here or here. So this drill, breaking down into 1, 2, 3, is a really good antidote for those that are having too much swing thought as they go through the ball, or even get into position to attempt to go through the ball. So even from there, you should have a really good grip here. From here, you can now just go straight up and go through. So up, raise the club, turn tilt, go.
So I feel like people are going to meet us here.
Yes.
They're like, okay, I'm watching the video, I'm here. Now, how do I get to the top? What does turn tilt mean?
So that you have to tilt before you turn. If you just turn, the club is now stuck behind you. So we have to get this left shoulder closer to the ball, so we will tilt, turn at the same time.
So from this angle, I'm here,
Right.
I'm here.
We want this left elbow, left shoulder to get closer to the ball, so we're going to turn tilt at the same time. Now we're in a good position where the left shoulder is lower than the right shoulder. Again, equal and opposite. All we have to do is replace this shoulder with this shoulder at the same angle. Exactly. And we should always exit and see the ball exit sideways, like skipping rocks. So if you have ever skipped rocks, you understand that weight shift 1, right elbow 2, release 3. In the golf swing, it's the exact same thing. We're working through the game sideways. So as we get to the top, we got to shift. Right elbow goes under right shoulder. Right elbow now has space, and then we release. So that's where this whole drill comes into play, where you can simplify your swing and simplify your swing thought. And the only way you can take a stroke in the game of golf is an attempt at the ball. So you can play the game this way if you feel more comfortable. Essentially what we wanted to layer into is one full swing.
Does this correlate to what we see George Yankas's guys doing, going like here, here, and then firing through?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of teachers out there that use the same theory. What we try to do is just simplify it. So instead of maybe a basket between your feet or between your knees where you're keeping it, and then as you turn, you drop it, all we want to do is get you through the ball. So that's the whole theory behind ball forward. Everybody can get back to the ball, but how do we get back to the ball efficiently and control it while it's in air?
It's 2 o'clock, Coach Jay. That was Ball Forward Preview. Thanks for your time.
Appreciate it.
We'll bring you some more soon. Let us know in the comments what golf tips you'd like to learn, and we'll talk to you soon.